Welcome. Happy New Year 2024. It's hard to believe it's 2024. This is AAUW Connection and Conversation. AAUW stands for the American Association of University Women. We promote education and equity for all, especially young women. We are a nonprofit organization. Now, those all sound fancy, but we're not that fancy. We accept 2-year degrees, not just university degrees. And we love to have men in our branch. We have a couple men members in Auburn branch. So come on board, and we would love to have anybody and everybody that's interested in listening today. I have a couple people I always like to thank. One is Phil, our producer and videographer. I'm the producer. I always get that mixed up. He always gives me the look. Anyway, he's the main guy. He's the one that puts it all together, and we're very fortunate to have him in charge of this. And then I always like to thank Susan Rushton, who a couple years ago at a board meeting suggested that we do something like this, because she has her own Auburn Oleo show where she talks about everything Auburn. So we took with that, and this is our 14th show. I apologize, we did not have a show in December. It was just a busy month, a lot of personal issues between guests and me and Phil, and so we just took the month off, but we are back and in good shape for this year. I do have one correction from our November show. It has been corrected, so you may not know that this even needs to be said, but Ann Brown from the Symphony was here, and she mentioned the date of the Mondavi Mother's Day concert is May 12th. We corrected it, but if you saw the original video, you might have seen her say May 14th. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's on board for our Auburn Symphony, and it's beautiful. It's going to be Fantasia out at the Mondavi Center, May 12th. So I wanted to get that off the books. So this morning was one of those mornings. I don't think anybody has mornings like that except me. That's a quote from Susan Rushton. She always says things like that, like it's only me. But it started with the dog piddling on the carpet. It started with the smoke alarm going off for no reason, but then stopped. It was just a comedy of I'm in a bad mood morning. And so then I get here, and I have never met Stacy before, but I meet Stacy and I'm already elevated into feeling better. I'm excited about our show. And with that, no pressure, I will introduce Stacy Robinson, and she is from the elections office. So that is our topic today, because it is a presidential election year. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me this morning, Sharon.
It's always fun. It's nerve-wracking at first, and then it gets fun.
I think we're going to have a good time.
Okay. Well, the other thing, right away in the parking lot, again, never have met Stacy. I'm kind of looking around, and she drives a 2020 Mustang. Well, who's the Mustang girl? I've had Mustangs since 1971, and so that was a real quick bond. And then I realized she said she was a Chevrolet girl, but married to a Ford man. And so that works for me. So anyway, just to digress. Okay. So welcome, sweetie. Let's talk elections. And let's talk about you. What's your title? Mm-hmm. How did you get there?
Yes.
The location.
Sure.
And we'll start slow and build up.
Okay. Well, I am Stacy Robinson, and I am the Public Information Assistant for the Placer County Clerk Recorder Elections Office. Say that 3 times fast.
I know, really, really.
I joined the team just under about a year and a half ago, about 8 weeks before the November 2022 general election. Okay. So you can imagine I hit the ground running, and luckily had amazing support from the staff at the office who really encouraged me and provided me with so much valuable information and insight that I felt like I was really able to get the hang of it quite quickly. And that gives a lot of credit to the managers and the staff at the office who really got behind me and supported me in that. My position before that is I came from a nonprofit, a local Sacramento-based regional nonprofit senior living organization.
Oh, wow.
And I had been hired on as their storyteller in a previous life, and sometimes in this one. I am a freelance developmental and substantive editor of novel-length fiction manuscripts.
Oh my god!
So it was
say that 3 times.
Exactly.
Do you have to have these long titles before you?
I think it was a requisite. Yeah. Upon birth, I don't do anything simply, Sharon.
Okay.
And so obviously it was quite a transition, but they hired me on as their storyteller, and a short 3 months later, COVID hit. So you can imagine the trajectory of my job shifted quite severely in that they no longer really needed someone to tell the stories of the organization, but really needed some marketing help, because I'm sure you can remember that right when that happened, senior living communities were not being shown or showcased in the best light because of things that were happening in Washington and New York.
Right.
So I did transition quite quickly over to some public relations work, some public information work, organizational communication, and of course marketing content. And it's the third nonprofit I had worked for, so I realized that I did have this element of wanting to serve my community, wanting to do something, put something out there in my little corner of the world to improve it, and to assist the residents of my community. And so when the opportunity, my best friend actually, she shot me this job link on Indeed, and she said, I think you'd be really great at this. Now, it's interesting for a lot of people. I'm not a very political person. I'm pretty much smack in the middle. I can see both sides of the fence, the proverbial fence, so to speak.
Which I would think would be a great prerequisite for your job.
And quite honestly, I think that it is imperative for somebody to be quite nonpartisan and to fulfill this role correctly and adequately. So I came on board, like I said, with the elections office. After just a short 3-month waiting period between application and interview.
Gosh.
I don't know if
During
anybody...
COVID, too.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but again, I joined the team in November of 2022, and I have not looked back since. Working with Ryan Ronco, of course, the clerk, recorder, registrar of voters for Placer County, has really been a boon to my career and my personal life. It is so lovely to work for somebody that you respect so much, and to see that respect is reflected in our population in Placer County.
It really is. I have worked elections. We'll get all to this in a better form, but I've worked elections for many, many, many years through AAUW and helped staff the polls and that kind of thing. And I can't be more proud of Placer County's voting. It's stellar.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with that,
Yes.
You are such a talented young person. I love it. I love it. So we have switched locations.
Yes, ma'am.
Our primary residence for the elections office used to be over here at the Atwood Center on Richardson.
Yes.
It is not there now.
No. Come August of 2023, we finally moved into our new building at 3715 Atherton Road in Rockland.
3715
Atherton Road in Rockland. We're really what I like to call, how they have the 4 corners of the states that meet.
Right.
We're really at the 3 corners of Lincoln, Rockland, and Roseville. So we're in a very central location where the majority of the population of the county now resides. And even though we love our beloved county seat up here in Auburn, we did feel it was time to move that office down to that location, predominantly because that's where our warehouse was.
Yes.
And now we have our office married with our warehouse, which improves efficiency and just helps us keep a better tab on things. They did a great job prior to the move, but now it's just a little more efficient, etc. We are maintaining a satellite office up here in Auburn at the old office in the DeWitt Center.
Is that open every day?
Yes.
Still?
Yes.
Okay.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Only clerk and recorder functions are performed up at the office in Auburn now. All elections functions will happen down, registering to vote, running for, putting your candidacy paperwork, all down in Atherton. However, during an election, during the voting period of any election, there will be a vote center up here at the Richardson Drive office. So there will be availability to vote in person and drop off your vote by mail ballot, etc. But it is a satellite office for our intended purposes. But there's a staff of 5 to 6 people. And there have been no complaints.
And they'll guide us in the right direction if we show up at the door with the wrong question.
Absolutely.
Right?
The one other thing that they don't do up here in Auburn is passport application processing.
They don't anymore?
No, that's also all handled down the hill in Rockland.
Because it used to be, I didn't think I went to the elections. I went to a regular passport place.
See, now many places will do it, but we also offer it out of the clerk recorder elections office. Okay. So that's the one little change. Most clerk recorder functions can have happen up in Auburn, so that our folks in Tahoe, Alta, etc., don't have to travel all the way down to Rockland. Right. Particularly since we've been up here for about 150 years.
Yep.
So we wanted to make sure that we served all of our residents equally, and we feel like we've done a pretty good job. Yeah. If you have any questions about what services are available at either office, just give us a call, 530-886-5600, and our helpful people will give you any information you need about which services are available at which location. Obviously, you can also find that information on our website.
Okay. Website, just go to Placer.
So we actually have 2 websites for our department. So all elections information will be at www.placercountyelections.gov, and then the other information for clerk recorder services, etc., can be found on the county website, placer.ca.gov, and then you just have to put in the search bar clerk recorder and you'll find us in a jiff.
In a jiff. I'm already lost. Okay, no, I'm not really. Stacy, I know the marriage between nonprofit organizations, which AAUW is one. I'm not always sure what the definition is. Like, Senior Center, they're nonprofit. Are they considered
a service group?
Service group?
Absolutely. So service groups that we've worked with in the past and in this current election cycle includes everything from the AAUW, League of Women Voters, but also Lions Clubs, Kiwanis Clubs, PEO groups, church groups, American Legion groups. So as long as it's a recognized kind of, even if it's an informal organization, say like a church group, we consider that they qualify as a service club, as long as they're willing to meet our requirements.
Okay. All right. There was always been a good marriage, and I never even questioned it, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we have, that's the biggest changes in this election cycle. Well, number one, we changed back to our primary in California to March about 2-3 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
It used to always be in June. Now it's earlier, for good or bad. I think the thinking, I don't know that it's fallen forward this way, but I think the thinking was then we would matter more than coming in at the end of the world like we are in California, and at time frames, everything. So I think that was the thinking, that we might feel more counted if we did it earlier.
A little more part of the preliminary conversation, so to speak. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and as you pointed out, we have a few changes as we move into this new election cycle, and we can certainly talk about all of those changes as we go on. But you did mention service clubs.
Yes.
And again, we have big changes coming to Placer County in the way that we conduct elections. We have recently adopted the California Voters' Choice Act, which means that we have a change in the way that we conduct elections. There's a number of different caveats, but specifically when it comes to poll workers, they have magically transformed into election aides and senior election aides. So an individual who wants to participate and work in the elections, now rather than a volunteer who is provided a small stipend for their service on election day, we actually have requirements now where they actually have to apply through the county, and they are hired on a very temporary basis as a temporary employee of the county.
We have to be fingerprinted too.
Yes,
that
which requires
that came over my email.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
So, and that's particularly for that what I'm just kind of referencing is for individuals. Now, for service clubs, we have worked it out with the county HR department to be able to include our service clubs because they have been so valuable and so reliant. We have been able to rely on them so heavily over the course of the last decade or so for our elections that we didn't want to disclude them from this new election model. So we worked with the county HR department, and our new election model will have vote centers rather than polling places, and we can get into that a little deeper later.
Yeah.
But the big change for service clubs is as long as they can provide a staff of 10 for each vote center that they adopt, we are allowing them to participate. Their stipend is going to be raised dramatically. Service clubs can earn up to $4,000 for an election period, which is quite different, I'm imagining, from times past, which we're very excited about because we know those nonprofits, they really rely on their fundraising efforts. So we're very excited to be able to offer that option to our service clubs. Now, as long as those service clubs can guarantee a full staff of 10, they're fully able to rotate people in and out in shifts, etc. The one main difference that they aren't temporarily hired as employees as individuals would be, but the group itself, anybody who will be participating will have a background check, and we will be fingerprinted. Yes. We are offering live scan dates down at the elections office as a courtesy to facilitate that, make it a little easier for you guys. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's the same kind of process and procedure. We're asking that you guys serve our voters by helping them understand the process, issue them their ballots, check them in at the desk, etc. So it's very, very similar, just with a few little caveats.
There's a few more not positions. There's a few more things to learn, mm-hmm. a few more machines, that kind of thing. Yes. But let me go back to an uncomfortable question. Sure. So the California Voters' Choice. Yes. Whose choice was that?
So this is...
Sorry, Stacy.
No. And this is something that I'm actually very excited to have an opportunity to be able to explain our reasoning behind the decision to transition.
Did we have to do it?
No, we did not.
Okay.
It is an opt-in choice. Mr. Ronco bided his time and waited and watched. Several of our neighboring counties have already transitioned to the VCA. It's a little less mouthy than Voters' Choice Act.
Oh, okay.
VCA election model. Sacramento County, Nevada County, El Dorado County have all previously transitioned over the last several years, and I think he wanted to watch and see whether or not the model was appropriate for Placer County. Now, I will tell you that the primary decision, there were a couple, but the overwhelmingly primary decision to transition to the Voters' Choice Act election model was the increasing difficulty of securing 1,500 plus poll workers to volunteer for election day, and the 200 to 250 plus polling locations that we were requiring as our population continues to expand.
Right.
Quite frankly, it's getting quite difficult. People don't want to be involved. The national narrative around elections and election workers, staff getting harassed,
right.
etc. Really, for people, it's not their career. It's not their chosen field. I don't blame them for wanting to kind of stay out of the fray. And the same is true for our polling places.
So we're consolidating the number of places, and
yes.
that's where we're finding the savings of manpower and
yes.
and visibility and
yes.
stuff.
It's increasing increased our ability to find those locations, secure those locations, and then, quite frankly, hire people willing to participate, to serve.
Another difficult question, more of a Sharon question than anything else. So what happened to just make our state a mail-in?
So actually, that is a California state law where now it passed a couple years ago, and it happened because of COVID, that every person, eligible active voter in the state of California, is required to be sent a vote by mail ballot. There is no such thing any longer as an absentee voter or an absentee ballot. Everybody is issued a vote by mail ballot as long as they're an active eligible voter, of course. And so that is one of the caveats of the VCA, which once they made it into law, it kind of became a moot point whether we were VCA or not. Another caveat of VCA is the availability of drop boxes, one per so many thousand voters in the county, and we actually have provided those for several years as a courtesy to our voters. Right. So really, the only major change that Placer County is going to need to make in regards to adopting and transitioning to this new VCA election model is there are no longer assigned precinct-specific polling places. Rather, it reduces the number of polling places and transitions them over to regional vote centers. Yes, okay. And the difference between regional vote centers and the precinct-specific polling places is that any voter can go to any location within the county. And we feel that this will dramatically increase not only the opportunities for people to vote in person, but will also increase the efficiency with which we can certify election results, which if you were the one answering emails and phone calls during the general election, I can tell you people care about quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
So we're very excited for the changes. We do know that this will cause some concern and some questions about why we made that transition. And quite frankly, we did it because we felt that there was literally at this point no other choice but to do so. But we are very positive. We are very optimistic about the benefits that the VCA model will offer our voters. Again, increasing in-person voting. Imagine, and particularly, I mean, you guys know that times have changed. People are on the go more than they've ever been before. You don't have a lot of single income households anymore. You've got moms and dads both working out of the home. You've got, kids who are in 6-7 sports at a time. So whether you are on your way to work, whether you are on your lunch break, whether you are on your way out of town on a family vacation, whether you are dropping your kid off at a sports practice, if there is a voting location near where you are going, you are eligible to go in. It's the same process. The election aides will verify your voter registration status in real time to make sure that you are who you say you are.
Is that all by computer then?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big change for us. We used to have those...
the roster books.
Right, yes.
Right, which is a huge, another reason why we made that transition is because the process of roster reconciliation was such a lengthy process.
It was old-fashioned. I liked it, Stacy.
And for somebody who grew up kind of with one foot in the analog age and one foot in the digital age, and I still print out my papers and stuff and get teased quite a bit by the youngers. Sure. I will say that at some point, recognizing the benefits of certain technology. Now, please keep in mind that Placer County elections takes the security and the integrity of our elections, particularly our systems, very, very seriously. We have, if I could not tell you the technology that goes into creating these airlocks between the computers and the office, making them impermeable to outside influences. So what's really great is that it's all about increasing efficiency. The voter can walk in, give them their name and their information, they're immediately looked up, their eligibility is verified, making sure that they haven't tried to vote somewhere else.
I was going to say, that's always...
Or dropped off a vote by mail ballot, etc.
Right. A little disclaimer, a couple years back, I was on the grand jury,
Yeah.
and so I got to go through the whole elections, and that
Yes.
was a major thing a couple years ago. Was what's preventing me from dropping a ballot off here and going over here, and
Yep.
there seemed to be some but I was so impressed with our Placer County, and it's whatever hits that machine first is the one that's counted, and if another one
no
comes
takesies,
through,
backsies.
no, the others got dumped out.
Right.
So I thought that was very impressed, and so I can only imagine that we've moved forward with an even grander
Yes.
scheme of that.
Yes, and we are very, very blessed. Not every county department has one, but we are very blessed to have our own in-house IT team. And quite frankly, they are the only ones with the security clearance to manage any of our election systems.
Wow.
So even though we're all vetted and we're election staff and we're trusted, but at the same time putting up that firewall and making sure that only a select number of people with the right qualifications have the access to the equipment is very important to Mr. Ronco and to the rest of the staff. So
Yeah. Oh golly.
yeah. So I do want to mention one other thing with the vote centers is while eligible voters are able to attend any vote center, there's one other change, which is instead of just on election day, voters are
is
now
huge.
have access to vote up to 11 days, including election day, at a handful of our vote center locations. I believe 7 are open for that 11-day period, and the remaining 22 will be open for 4 days, including election day, so the weekend and the Monday preceding election day. So that gives people 2 weekends to
Yeah.
vote in person. So if they don't have the opportunity to take some time off of work, or family schedules are super busy, they can always go in on the weekend. Another big change that we're very excited about is the recent passage of AB 626.
Wait,
which
AB 262.
626.
626.
And what that means is they just recently passed it, and it means that you can walk in with your vote by mail ballot, and rather than just drop it in that bin that says, and we take those ballots back up to the elections office. Once you check in, if you have enough time to check in with the election staff, they'll permit you to open your vote by mail ballot and feed it through the machine immediately, having it scanned, meaning that your vote will be the votes cast on your ballot will be part of those preliminary election night results,
Gotcha.
which is huge.
Yeah.
Not only for our office, but we believe for our eligible voters as well.
Yeah.
So that when they look at those numbers come election night, they know that their vote is included.
Yeah, those projected numbers,
Exactly.
and 47% are in, and you're
Exactly.
waiting for the last 90 or something. Yeah.
So we're very
That's exciting.
So if you do fill out your vote by mail ballot at home, please consider coming to a vote center and having it scanned. That way you guys can know that your votes are in that count on election night.
On the earlier counts. Oh, otherwise we wait. A week usually to get results, I think, final results. Yeah. Which we still have to do.
Well, I will tell you in the November general election, and pardon me if I skew the numbers just a tad, but I believe that we had almost 75% of our vote by mail ballots come in on the week of election day.
Yeah.
That is a lot of ballots to count in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So if you want that ballot counted, mail it early.
And have us scan it.
Yes,
at the
mail it
center.
early, get in a Dropbox early, or have it scanned, which is the way we want you to go.
Okay. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
now I know. Okay, I don't want to man that position. That's gonna be busy. Sorry. So real quick, you mentioned the biggest change are those dates, and I have a quick list here, Stacy. I think you have the same list.
Yes.
There will be 7 locations. I'm going to go through it quickly. I don't know how much time we have left, Phil, but okay, keep going. 7 locations open from February 24th to March 5th.
Yes, 8 p.m.
That's 11 days, 8 p.m. to 4.
Yes.
Except on election day, on the final day of March 5th, they'll be open the normal 7 to 8.
Yes.
But it's the Roseville Veterans Hall, the old firehouse in Tahoe City, Placer County Clerk's over here on that's the Atherton one.
Yeah.
Lincoln Veterans Hall in Lincoln, Granite Bay Library on Douglas, Martha Riley Library in Roseville, and the Placer County Clerk Recorder Office on Richardson, which is the Auburn, the old office as it has been up to now.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember the first time they said something about Atherton, I thought, Atherton? That's a city down the Bay Area. I'm not going down there. But they often call, or at least I have heard it referred to as the Atherton office is just the Atherton Street in Rockland.
Yeah, and you know, those monikers tend to happen. You know, the Atherton office has been something we've been saying for quite a while. So.
Then the other dates to remember from March 2nd through the 5th, those 4 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. There are 22 locations to be open 8 to 4, and then election day again 7 to 8.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to list all of them.
It's quite a list.
But it's quite a list. There's 22 locations. What are they calling those now? Not polling places.
Vote centers.
Vote centers.
Vote centers. Yes,
and are both called vote centers? The 7 and the and the.
It's just an 11-day vote center versus a 4-day.
4-day. Okay.
Yes, but they will all be open by that March 2nd.
Yes. That that's pretty impressive.
And, yes, and if you have any questions about the locations, you want to find a location that's closest to you or closest to your work, we will have those lists. They're up there now on our website at the www.placercountyelections.gov. You can find a list of both our vote center locations, which will kind of show you which ones are open 11-day, which ones are open for the 4-day period, as well as a list of our drop boxes. And I believe that there are going to be 29 of those throughout the county.
Yep.
We've added a few locations. We've also adapted a few locations to be external 24/7 versus internal.
So there'll be those as well as these locations.
Yes, we've actually added a few locations with some help for some partners in the community.
Okay.
And we're very, very, very grateful to make sure that the access is there for all of our eligible voters.
So we'll have to look into that as well. Now, if I understand it correctly, the elections personnel are manning the 11-day, and they're taking care of these extra ballot boxes.
Yes.
The service clubs, as is AAUW, will be facilitating and not manning, staffing the 7 locations that are 4 days. Is that accurate?
I believe it's 22 locations that'll be the 4 days.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry about that.
So
I reversed it. That's why I have her.
Remember 7-11.
7-11.
7-11 days.
Okay, 7-11 days.
Yeah.
So we're helping with the 4-day one.
I do
locations.
believe that some service clubs were offered the option, if they couldn't commit to a full 4-day commitment, that they've been given the option to basically be runners, to collect the materials, the ballots, and bring them back to the offices. And then also other service clubs have elected instead to be the lockbox closers at 8 p.m. on election night. Right on the dot, we've got to seal those boxes up, and woe be to you if you don't make it there. No later than 7:59.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an impressive way to man things. Then I noticed we used to have about 4 or 5 people in every location as a service club again.
Right.
That now we're going to need 10.
Yes, ma'am, and that is because the vote centers obviously are a lot larger than the majority of our polling places were to accommodate more voters because there are fewer locations. So rather than having your inspectors and your clerks and your judges, we have election aides, and then we have senior election aides who have maybe kind of been around the proverbial election block once or twice and kind of know their business. Of course, we offer paid, we offer training. And
I was going to say, required training.
Even if you've been there, done that before, because of this new system and this new election system, we want to make sure everybody is up to speed on all the changes. And as you mentioned, we do have 10 required staff. With the service clubs, what's nice is, as long as like I mentioned before, as long as they commit to 10 people being there the entire time, they can rotate in shifts. Right? So you have 10 do the 8 to 12 shift and another 10, etc. over the course of those 4 days.
That is, I think, the model that we're using.
Yes.
It still seemed difficult to get 10 people. And
imagine 1,500.
I know, really. So one of the things, though, it requires one poll worker dedicated to 10 different slots, if you will. And I wondered if one person couldn't take over a couple of those slots. Yeah, and by that I mean, let's say, it's not on here, people, I'm just off the top. One is a rather simplistic one where you're going to greet everybody. It's not that. And then one is where they give out the little I voted stickers. Let's just say those are two different. Couldn't one person be trained on both of those?
So you're a woman after my own heart. I always feel like work smarter, not harder, right? But at the same time, we are beholden to the standards and the requirements set forth by the Secretary of State, just like every other county. So while we can see the value in your argument, Miss Sharon, we again must we have several check boxes that we have to check off, whether we see the logic in them or not entirely. And one of those requirements is the 10 persons.
Okay, and that does make good sense. We don't want to. We want to be in good faith to keep this very appropriate. Just in the climate of the country, to be very trustworthy, as Placer County elections has always been, but to really keep that going. I get that.
And I will say, as somebody who works with some of our community advisory groups, that is also, I believe, in an effort on the Secretary of State's part to ensure that enough staff is available to assist those voters that maybe have language diversity and require translation services, or some of those voters who have accessibility issues. We have actually really upped our game with the available equipment, etc. We now have call buttons outside of vote centers that people with accessibility issues can come and push the button, and staff will come out and bring the equipment on a rolly AV cart. I'm sure Phil's familiar with AV carts. And I am really, really proud that we never just kind of stop at the bare minimum. We really go above and beyond, and I say that with a lot of confidence because I've seen what other counties do, and not to disparage them at all, but I'm just so really proud of the extra effort that Placer County goes to ensure that all of our eligible voters are able to vote independently and privately in the way that the Constitution of this great nation affords them to do.
Yes, I have always been very proud of our election process. And before Ryan Ronco, who was under Mr. McCauley.
Yes,
Jim
Mr. McCauley,
yeah. And so Ryan has been around a long time.
Yes, 30 years.
he is stellar.
Yes.
Okay, we want to, I think we got the biggest things, but let's talk about some important dates that you brought.
Okay.
I know you brought a whole bunch of other stuff, but
oh no. Yeah. Whatever you think the most valuable thing is, we'll go over some dates.
Okay.
That way we're all on the same page. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you, on January 25th, we will begin mailing out to our active eligible voters the Placer County Voter Information Guide. You will also receive one from the Secretary of State's office.
So we received two?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll receive two.
Okay.
Placer counties will start being mailed out on January 25th. And quickly on the heels of that, we will start mailing out our vote-by-mail ballots, as I stated before, as required by law to every eligible voter on February 5th. Okay. The very next day is when those ballot drop boxes throughout the county will be open for business. Okay. And I will tell you, if you have any questions or concerns about those drop boxes, please drop us a line, call or email us at election@placercountyelections.gov, and be able to get any of your questions answered. But they are very, very secure. They're built by a safe company. They are emptied daily, so you don't have to rely on the USPS to get your ballot to us, although that's always an option with your prepaid postage envelope that is provided. So those ballot drop boxes will open February 6th. February 20th is your last day to register to vote and receive your election materials by mail. That includes your voter information guide and your vote by mail ballot. February 24th, those 11-day vote centers will open for in-person voting and to bring by your vote by mail ballot for a quick scan. On the February 27th, the last last day for the elections office to mail you out a ballot is February 27th by mail. You can always come to the elections office and we can issue one in person. So if you've lost it, or if you're misplaced it, or if you never received it, please give us a call and we'll help you get a replacement as soon as possible. Once we've verified you haven't already voted, of course. March 2nd, all vote centers will be open, so those remaining 22 4-day vote centers will come into operation. And then, of course, a short 3 days later is Election Day, March 5th, when all in-person voting will cease at 8 p.m., promptly 8 p.m. So if you're going to wait to vote on Election Day, make sure you get in line before 8 p.m. that evening.
That's right. We lock you out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. A lot to go on. It's
Oh, yeah.
It's what our country's based on, so it's very important. So a lot isn't too bad.
Yes.
So, anything special you want to add? We have a few more minutes. Nope. What's Phil telling me? He's shaking his head. I don't know what that means.
I'll just give you a few contact points.
Phil's just letting us go on and on. We might be here all day.
Any questions, you can call 530-886-5650 to get directly to a member of election staff. You can always email us. Remember, our website has all of the vital information for the election, as well as the information regarding the primary, etc. So please head over to www.placercountyelections.gov. And I'm Stacy Robinson. You can always ask for me if you have any questions.
Oh, we have a personal line. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
One last question. Now,
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
say I have heard people can walk in, they've never registered, but they can vote through March 5th.
Yes, conditional voter registration.
Okay.
So that is something that once you've registered, once you've passed that February 20th date, so February 21st through Election Day, there is what's called conditional voter registration in California. Again, another law from the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
And what that means is that you fill out the information, you're issued a ballot. That information is held in a separate area.
Okay.
Once you are deemed eligible and that everything is clear and concise and you're registered to vote, then we can evaluate that ballot, make sure it's eligible, and then it'll be counted.
Okay.
But again, any questions?
There's a process behind the scenes.
Yes,
It's just,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Because that's good to know.
Yes.
Oh, golly, that was a lot of information. Real quick, again, thank you.
Oh, Sharon,
If we
it
need
was
to
a
do
pleasure.
another one, we'll do another one.
Yeah.
But, real quick, as far as I am concerned, again, huge shout out to our elections in Placer County. We have AAUW has an upcoming meeting that's open to the public. It's called International Relations. It's going to be at the Rose Room, I believe, this year, and that's the Rose Room in the I don't know what that's called downtown. City Hall. Thank you. City Hall, and so you're welcome to that. That's going to be on the 26th. I do not know the speaker. I apologize for that. Our big fundraiser is March 23rd, the Trivia Bee. That will be at the Congregational Church up on the hill where it has been the last few times. And this is an important year for Auburn AAUW. It is our 75th Jubilee meeting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. It's
Diamond anniversary.
Yes, yes. So we're all going to dress up in diamonds and celebrate. And that's going to be in April 28th. Okay, I think, my gosh, a lot of information. I do hope everybody votes. And I do hope
Let's keep those numbers high.
Exactly. And since it is the first year with a lot going on,
Yes.
or a lot less going on, depending on the perspective, I know it'll go smoothly.
I have every faith in our staff, and of
Well, I
course
have every
the
faith in
leader
you.
of. Oh, thank you, ma'am.
So,
Thank you.
thanks, and we'll join again next time. And I thank Phil again, and I think that's it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.